Hello everyone, my name is Hikiko and welcome to Hikikomori Media. I will be covering a Western game this time. Yes, What the West Did Right is a series that covers some of the more interesting and unique games developed by Western studios that often imitate or emulate Japanese games to come before it. In this case, I'll be looking at the Dead Space series. We got Dead Space 1, Dead Space 3 out of order, and Dead Space 2. This is the limited edition. It came with Extraction on the disc on the PS3 version. I'm not so sure about the 360. Anyway, this is shuffle. This is the definitive collection right here. Okay, you don't know PC with EA Origins, you don't need that. In fact, the 360 versions have now been enhanced for the Xbox One. So when you see the footage from Dead Space 1 that I'm playing, that comes from the Xbox One. It got me back into this series and I'm glad I checked it out again. Let's talk about what works so well. Dead Space doesn't have the air of the auteur about it. It doesn't seem to have one singular vision guiding the entire project all the way through. In many respects, the director of Dead Space seemed as if he was a fan of many different sci-fi horror experiences and said, hey, I can take a crack at that. And he made his own thing, and you know what? It turned out very well for what it was. He looked at the problems of those games, like Resident Evil 4, not being able to move and shoot, and then constantly going into the briefcase to mix herbs. And he said, let's scrap all that, let's refine it, let's simplify it. And in a sense, not only does it appeal to the hardcore, those familiar with the Resident Evil series, but it also opens the door to the casual audience. And that is something a lot of Japanese games miss out on. They are somewhat gatekeeper experiences. You have to put up with a lot of odd nuances and slowing factors in order to enjoy the bigger picture. And some gamers out there just don't have the time or patience for that sort of thing. Why Dead Space is so meaningful to me is that it puts gameplay first above all else. And that's what I look for in a video game. Even when it comes down to the QTEs, it doesn't pull those sleight of hand tricks like, oh, which button's it gonna be this time? No, it's relegated to one button. You just tap the button and you're out. Or, in the case of the tentacle that grabs Isaac, which almost put the game into development hell just developing that tentacle, Isaac is able to escape by shooting the glowing spot till the thing dies. You are in the moment. You are in the gameplay almost at every point. They don't take the controller away from you. I think Dead Space's most crowning achievement has to be its removal of the HUD. As in, you're not constantly looking at a health bar up in the top. It's on his spine. You see how much health he has in a moment. You can gather how much ammo he has based on the little hologram that appears on his gun. It's a part, it's a feature. Everything is linked together. And it keeps you invested. I like the sense of puzzle solving within Dead Space. Isaac is an engineer and they have him do engineer things like shoot the wire to disable the alarm, or use telekinesis to move one block to another place, or take a battery on the ground and put it in the hole. I know it's very simplified, the extent of his engineering capabilities, but it's within theme of the game. It also is an important part of his character development in a sense. You ever feel lost within Dead Space? Click in the stick, Isaac pushes down a beam on the ground, and it shows you the route you're supposed to go in case you get turned around. I know some people may say, well, that defeats the purpose of figuring things out on your own, but I think it just keeps you moving so the player is never bored.
Now you need to find a DNA sample of the growth. According to lab records, there's an inert sample stored in the ICU.
The monsters of Dead Space are known as necromorphs, and their defining features are they're aliens that inhabit the dead bodies of humans, but what makes them unique are their points of articulation. And that's kind of what Dead Space boils down to in its gameplay department. Shooting off limbs. You kill most of the enemies by taking out their arms and legs, and not necessarily just shooting off their head. The sound design is impeccable in an Akira Yamaoka sense. You hear more of the atmosphere, the bumps in the night, the creaking of the door, the big mechanical opening of each and every airlock. Every sound sample feels purposely placed, and the music is not overbearing. It's more atmospheric. It feels like you're alone in the vacuum of space on the ship floating through an asteroid field.
Exiting gravity. Exiting vacuum.
One of my favorite aspects about the original Dead Space was the use of the silent protagonist. Isaac Clarke didn't say anything. All you heard was his breathing under the mask, or you heard his occasional grunt or scream. It's easier for the player to project themselves upon Isaac and get immersed into the atmosphere when you don't have to sit through all of his commentary about what's going on around him. I think it's more thematic to the game's story. Isaac is a puppet being pulled by an unknown puppet master. What are his motivations beyond finding his girlfriend? Who's really calling the shots? Is what he's seeing a reliable version of the events? I kind of compare him to the silent and hulking figure of Jason Voorhees in the first game. The second game follows more into this psychological aspect where Isaac's a crazy man. They have him talk all the time, and I just don't think it worked for kind of the lonely atmosphere the first Dead Space is trying to reinforce. The second one just feels, I don't know, too involved, too many players on the field, and the scope just gets too big for its own good.
Why'd you come looking for me if you knew I was dead, Isaac? Did you think I would forgive you?
Get out of my head. You're not Nicole!
Dead Space has a lot of layers going on in it, even though it doesn't bog you down with too much story, and it's there if you want to uncover it through data logs or audio logs or the little bits of character interactions you have sprawled throughout the game.
We have to get that thing off the ship. The chemicals you need are in the chemistry lab. I'll hack the door for you when you get there.
You can't stand in the way of God's plan, the natural order. Are you blind like the rest?
For Dead Space to not separate the game from the story and just intertwine them and have the player's immersion constantly on what's in front of them is something I feel many games have lost in the West. And now we've had to block out 30-minute Kojima-styled cutscenes in order to have a story instead of having the story unfold as you play the game. Now, Dead Space is one of those series that was burning the candle at both ends. It had such a short lifespan, about 5 years, and 3 main games came out, Extraction came out, a cell phone game came out, a graphic novel game, 2 movies, and some comic books. It was a franchise that was there and then poof, gone from this earth. Just like many of the EA-controlled properties, that's not Call of Duty. I know it's a strange metaphor, but the series in itself kind of went through a de-evolution, a necromorphosis, if you will. It started off with a slow burn, kind of atmospheric survival horror, and then 2 went more into the camp of cinematic and over budget, and didn't necessarily benefit the game with the higher budget. And then 3 opened the floodgates to the casual audience and incorporated some shoehorn multiplayer in and made everything essentially Lost Planet with Call of Duty guns. That said, it's a damn shame what happened to this series. I wish that Dead Space 2 would have kept Isaac silent and focused more on the gameplay, and Dead Space 3 would have not been a main entry series, like maybe a good co-op spin-off game to fund Dead Space 4, which was in development, but Visceral Games was shut down by EA. The project was canceled and everyone kind of went their own ways. You're gonna find that story 100 times over when it comes to EA, but I'm glad at a certain period in time EA took a lot of chances. Shadows of the Damned, Brutal Legend, Dead Space. At one point in time, they were making some fantastic games, and I think one day they might see the light and will return to something like Dead Space in the near future. But until then, I'm Hikiko, and thanks for watching What the West Did Right. Do you like the green light? I picked that out for you. I also thought it was more of a teal. Isaac's visor is somewhat of a teal. It's in between teal, aquamarine. Hey everybody, I'm Hikiko. I run this ramshackle operation that I call Hikikomori Media. If you like the content that you saw today, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out the other videos that I have over here. Alright, Patreon, bye.